Hello all and welcome to the latest Craftmania Sunday Showcase. Today I have some brand new products to share with you. They've literally just arrived in store yesterday and I can't wait for you to see them. I think you're going to really love these. What we're looking at today is layering stamps. Now don't be put off by that. I know a few of you are scared of stamping. These are really easy to use and I've got lots of hints and tips I'll be sharing with you throughout today's video so that you can do this really simply and get some great effects. Now if you haven't heard of layering stamps before, this is a bit of a new term to us. Basically what it means is if we start off by looking at this set, this is our border set. And now in here you've got 3 individual stamps. They literally come off separate. I know this is a bit difficult to see, but they're literally clear border stamps on their own. And they give you 3 layers. So you've got leaves, 1 set of petals, and then a larger set of like flower heads to go over the top of them. The idea is with this that you can stamp them in different colours or emboss them with different colour embossing powders to give you more of a coloured and pretty border effect. Now these stamps don't only come in borders, that's our border set to begin with, but we then have a large wreath. Now I know this packaging isn't the best for you to see what this design is going to end up like, but don't worry, I have lots of samples I'm going to show you shortly. We then have a corner set, really beautiful corner set actually, really lovely, I think you're going to really like that. And then we have a small wreath. Now although we're calling one a small wreath and one a large wreath, the stamps are actually the same size, it's just the actual design on them. On the large wreath, the flowers and leaves are a bigger pattern than the small one. On the small one, they're much more delicate. But again, you'll see that on the examples as we go through today. But I want to show you how to use them, because I don't want you put off by this thinking that they're going to be really difficult, because they are so super easy that I think that we really just need to show you that, and then we'll talk about the samples. So your actual stamps are quite clever on their own, because they know that you're going to potentially struggle to marry these up. So on the corners, they've cut off 1 corner on each stamp so that you know that when you're layering your design, that's the corner you're going to go to mark it. So all I'm doing is I'm layering this onto my stamp press. If you haven't seen these before, we'll talk a little bit about them later, but it's just a different stamping tool. Now on here it has a nice little grid work for you. If you're worrying already that you can't use these with your stamp blocks, if you've got like the Misties or you've got the Rocker blocks, I've used mine stamps with both of them, they work perfectly. Just this is the easier one out of all of them that I personally get on with, but I'm sure you'll make them work with whatever blocks it is you're used to using. So anyway, going back to it, I've put it on here, I've put the cut out corner into the corner of my stamp press, so I know that every time I put a layer on, if I put that corner there, that's going to help me remember to stamp it without having to faff about and find what goes where. So I'm just going to take a little Memento ink. I'm doing the leaves to begin with. So I'm going for a cottage ivy Memento. And we're just going to pop that over this, just so it's nice and evenly covered. Now one of the nice bits about one of these stamp presses, if you haven't seen them before, is even if you do miss a bit, you can just let it pop back up into place and then put it back down and re-stamp it. So I'm just going to line this up with the grid that's on the press and go down over the top of my cardstock. Now I've cut my cardstock down, but of course you don't have to be doing this on a little piece of card. You could be doing this straight onto the front of a card or onto another panel to cut out, whatever you wish. Now that, as you can see, is our leaves, our first base layer, and this shows you a little bit of what I was on about earlier. You can literally see they've left gaps perfectly placed for flowers. Now I know a lot of you use the peg stamps without naming brands, but that style of stamp, I like them, don't get me wrong, but I tend to, when I use them, this is a personal thing, you might not find this, when I use them I tend to find that where the stamps aren't actually designed to make room for each other, if that makes sense, you tend to layer them quite a lot, and that can look to me a little bit more cluttered. This is perfectly designed that it's all going to fit in and you don't have to worry about if you've left enough room, if you've got them equally spaced. You're going to get this right every time, simply just by lining it up correctly. So next up I've gone for the large flower heads. Don't forget that you're going to get a small one of them as well. And this time I'm using Lilac Posies Memento ink, but of course you can use any colours, any at all. I'm just showing you the ones that I've done my samples in, so you're going to get an idea of how they're going to look quite easily. So again, I'm going to line that up again into that corner, and you can of course through here see that you're going in between the leaves. Just give it a little rub over the top, and you have a perfect image hidden, nested in between each of the leaves that we did first time round. We're then going to move on to our third layer. Again, just layering that on the block. And this time we're going to go for teal zeal. Love this colour. I am a bit of a teal fan. And again, we're just going to ink that up. And bring that back over here a bit. And we're going to stamp our third one. And as you can see, you've created a really beautiful wreath in just a matter of seconds. Now, if you're feeling that the spacing can do a little bit of work, obviously I'm on a very quick time limit because I don't want to bore you to death. You can play about and position it a little bit better. And of course you could move them about a bit if you wanted to as well, and create different effects using different stamping tools and different inks. But that's the simple, very quick way to use them. All four of the sets work in the same way, so it doesn't matter whether you're using the borders, the large wreath, the corner, or the small wreath. They're all exactly the same, all 3 layers, all stamped in the same system. You may be wondering, do you have to start with the leaves and work up to the flowers? Doesn't matter what one you start with, there isn't a system to this. Because of they're all spaced in their own plot as such, you can do the flowers first and then do the leaves last if you wish to. You might even get some quite nice ideas by leaving certain layers out or doing them in the same colour. But they're all things you can play about with when you've got these adorable stamps to yourself. So let's move on and have a look at a couple of samples I've made, and then I'll show you a couple of the ways in which I coloured them. So we're going to start off with this one to begin with. This is our corner stamp. Now again, same colours as which I just used there. To do that one, ever so simple. If I show you the colouring as I go, then that way I'm not going to bore you to death with lots of painting at the end, hopefully. So this one is the same as what we've just painted onto here, but simple. Just take your ink, take a paintbrush and a little bit of water, water the ink down so that it's nice and runny, and then you can just paint in the flower. Nice and simple. Leaves go with the same green as what you stamped them with, and the blue flowers go with the same teal zeal. And then when it dries, this is the effect you're going to have. Now I have gone over the top of mine with a glue pen and some iridescent glitter just to give them a bit of a sparkle as well. But of course that's an added extra if you wish to. We'll get rid of that and then we'll continue with our next one. So on top of this card, you will notice that I've got a gorgeous butterfly. Now this is a set that I've used throughout all of today's samples. It's one that gets a bit overlooked. It's not a new set by a long shot, but it is one of my favourite butterfly die sets because it's just really intricate, really lacy. It's $14.49. They pop out ever so easily. They have really nice embossing work on some of them as well. And they actually stack quite nicely too, and I'll show you that a little later on. As always, if you do want these dies held for you or any of the products I show you, just pop in the comments and we'll have them held for you up to 7 days. But that's your dies, $14.49 for the butterflies. Around here also I've used a little punch to do my tiny little butterflies. This is just an ordinary little paper punch. They're available in store for $1.99 and I've just stacked them just to give them a bit more interest. In the middle here, the dies, I'll talk about the circles in a little while, but the actual cutouts I've created, I've just embossed using a music embossing folder. That again is available in store. That one's a $5.99 folder, and we have those in stock at the moment as well. But it's just a simple card. It was actually originally an aperture card, and I've just stamped round it, put some green card in behind it, and added the layers, of course, and decorated. Moving on, I wanted to show you a different thing or item you could use these stamps on. So I'm not the best at parchment work, I'm not going to lie, this isn't something I'm necessarily brilliant at, but it is something I quite like having a play about with. So for this one, I've used the same green, same lilac posies and teal zeal stamp inks, and I've just done it onto parchment. I've cut them out, including the middle of the delicate wreath. This is your small wreath. and I've layered them as well, so I've cut them again. I've also embossed them just to give them that nice white shining through, makes the ink pop a little bit more. In the middle I've used the third butterfly from that set I just showed you, the die cut set, and I've just done it on parchment, and you can see that where we've embossed it, it's got that beautiful white on there. It looks like I've spent hours creating it, and in honesty it just took a few seconds for a die cut machine. But isn't that the beauty of dies? So that's our delicate small wreath. That's the first time you're getting to see that one actually printed and layered, and I just love that. I think that's so nice and perfect to put little gems in the middle of the flowers as well if you wanted to. Now the card itself, this is worth mentioning. You may not have seen these cards before, but they are really lovely to use. They're already cut for you. They come in a packet of 5. You get your envelopes with them as well. The actual cut in the centre is done, so is the score lines, and once you've got it, you just simply fold that over, and then you can decorate as you wish to. You get 5 in a packet for £1.60, so they're not particularly expensive, and they come in different textures and colours as well. But I just love these little cards. They're fun and easy to do, quite quick to play about with, but give you quite a nice effect and look like you've put in lots of hard work scoring and cutting when we really haven't. So that's that card anyway. Moving on to our third card. Now this is another one using the small wreath, the delicate wreath as such. Again, this time I've just stamped it, this time on just plain white card. I haven't coloured it, I haven't painted these ones in, I've just left them alone and layered them up and glittered the centres of them. Again, you can see the butterflies. This time we've got the third butterfly and the second one, and I've layered the little butterflies again around the edges. And this time I've done a bit of a reversed twisted easel. So the actual card goes up at the top instead of down, so that I can put in this acetate layer so that it sort of looks like the panel is suspended in midair, but it's all done with the trickery and the acetate. Quite a simple little fold to do, and looks like, again, we've put in lots of hard work, but really I haven't. Okay, moving on to card number 4. Now this time, we're back to that corner. But I wanted to show you this because this is using last week's Sunday Showcase. I know a lot of you got this, an awful lot of you got this in fact. It sold out first time round on Monday afternoon, so it just shows how quickly these Sunday Showcases do sell out. But luckily we did get a few more back in stock towards the end of the week. If you didn't manage to get them yet, do feel free to go back on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page, and you'll see last week's video posted up there already. These are our slit-in dies with little arrows that create these decorations. But if you did manage to get them, or you're on the fence about getting them, doesn't this corner work really well with them? Because it leaves that lovely aperture in the middle as such, or shape in the middle for you to decorate. These just sit perfect in the centre. This, of course, is the circular size. And when earlier I mentioned about that card and the circles on this one, these are the circles that come off of the inside of these, obviously without the slits. So it shows if you don't want to use them actually with the slits and the arrows, you can of course just use them as a nesting die. It gives you a bit more versatility and value for money, obviously. But it's a nice way, if you have got them, or you do want them, to use them in conjunction with today's Sunday Showcase. So again, this is the same corner. Painted in the same way as what I showed you the first time, a little bit of glitter, just trying to show you a different effect this time round. The butterflies, as I said earlier, you can stack them, so this is just another one of the designs. This is the large butterfly, the largest one, with the biggest wingspan out of the set of dies. I just love these, I think they're beautiful little dies, so that's that one. Moving forward, let's show you this one next then. So this one, I know this one isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's allowed. This is our distressed one. If you are a distresser, then hopefully you'll appreciate this one. This one's a bit of a different technique. Around the actual card, I've just distressed it. I've gone for my 3 favourite colours. I mention these actually every week, but never show them to you, so I thought I'd actually show them to you. When I mention these, we've got Seedless Preserve, Scattered Straw and Peacock Feathers. They are my go-to colours. We use them virtually every single week in one form or another. And this week I've used them to create my background. I've obviously kept it a little bit more yellow in the middle and tried to darken down the edges slightly. I've also used the same 3 colours to create this background here, just leaving it toned down a little less yellow, just to make my background. Now, interestingly, I've used the corner around the edges and just stamped that in the 3 colours. I haven't painted that or done anything with it. That is just the 3 colours stamped. And I quite like that because you're seeing then the distressed background coming through it. So it shows if you're not a particularly big fan of colouring or painting, just use these gorgeous stamps on patterned papers or card and you're going to get a different effect without you actually having to do too much to it other than stamping them. In the middle, I did go a little bit more OTT. This time I've distressed my background, I've stamped my stamps, and then I've just taken the water and a paintbrush again and painted in the actual flower. Now, because you've got the distress ink background underneath it of colour, it took the colour out of the stamped image and just gave like a really pale background, like a shadow as such, instead of a detailed image. So after I'd done that, I then re-stamped over the top again. And that's the joy of these stamp presses. You can go back over and re-stamp time and time again. So I've just blended it all out, got my blue shadow, or pink or green and so on and so forth, and then re-stamped over the top to give you that more crisp effect around the edge of it. I quite like that effect, to be honest. Something I'd certainly practice a bit more, but a good starting point and hopefully something to give you a couple of ideas. Again, we've got the same little butterflies on here, again just distressed with the same colours. Again, really nice way to show you that although the whole card's put together with the same 3 distress inks, you've got so many different colours and blending ways out of them. Just shows you how 3 inks can open up a whole avenue of colours without having to have millions of inks at your disposal. Moving forward, now this is another little fun one. This is a tiny card. This is only a 4.5 by 4.5 inch twisted easel. I don't normally make little cards, to be honest, but it's nice to work out of our comfort zone sometimes, isn't it? So this time is slightly different, and I'm going to show you this one again. This time I've taken the large wreath. Again, by large wreath I mean that they're the bigger flowers. I've stamped it onto pearl card, so I have a bit to hand, because I want to show you this again. Just to find your stamp, let's go with this one. I'm going to load it on the block again. I'm not going to do all of them, I'm just going to show you this bit quickly, because you don't need to see all of it layered again. But this I thought was quite worthwhile knowing. Instead of actually having to, like we did with the first time when I did my painting, I brought in more ink. If you stamp onto pearl card, now you can leave this a couple of minutes, it won't dry and set. And hopefully the camera will pick this up. If you bring in a water brush again, or just a paintbrush with a bit of water, you can just tease that colour out of those flowers, and it will just be enough to give you a pinkish background just to the flower. Of course, if you find that it waters it down too much and you're not getting the crisp lines, like I show you on the last card, you can of course go back over it and stamp it again. But I actually quite like that because it was quite subtle, but it just gives you a different effect. And when it dries, it gives you a nice pearl colour to the bit that you've painted as well. So a nice and simple effect, ever so quick to do, but just a different idea. So that's what I've done this time anyway. I've stamped it, same 3 layers. I've painted them all in just with water as I just showed you. And then I've cut them out again and layered them just on top. And again, that's actually something worth mentioning. If you're worried about cutting and layering these because you're thinking, well, where will I know where to start and stop? Because if you've got these layers and you're going to stamp them one at a time, this is so easy to go and cut them out. Because you just stamp a layer each and then cut them out, simple as. And you know where they come from because they're all done in order. So it's quite simple to find where it needs to go by just following the circle. So again, really simple to do, really simple to use. The butterfly here, as I said at the beginning, you can stack them with different butterflies to give you different effects. So I've got the 3rd butterfly, the one with the really nice embossed wings, and then I've got the largest butterfly, the one with the biggest wingspan underneath it. But I think because of they're so lacy and the designs sort of match in, they're really nice to stack like that and give you a different effect. And of course you could have added in the 3rd design or another layer of one of them if you wanted something a bit bolder. But because it's quite a small card, I didn't want to overpower it too much, make it too heavy. Okay, moving on to our next card. Now this one is showing you the beautiful borders. I really didn't get much time to play with the borders. I've told you this every week. I only have one day to make these projects. So I sort of go off on little tangents, and then at the end of the day when it comes to filming the video, I think, oh no, I'm not going to show you enough of a side of it. The borders are beautiful. They're really easy to use, work really lovely. Really like the idea of using them as like the bars at the bottom of your stopper cards as well. If you've done an easel card and you need a bar, what a wonderful way to use that part of your border to make up the stopper as well, because it's going to work perfectly and matching with that. There's just so many things I could say about these stamps. I can rant and rave all day, but I'll try and keep it short. So anyway, borders, back to them. This is just an ordinary stepper card as such. I've just put the borders down the sides, nice and simple. In fairness, I made the card before I picked the decoupage for the middle. And on reflection, I should have done it the other way around, because I probably would have painted these in a little bit lighter to match in a bit more with the decoupage. But time was a bit of an issue. So hopefully it gives you an idea anyway, and shows you how this would work quite nicely together. And of course you could pick a different decoupage if you wanted to. Across the top of my decoupage I've got this little headed eye. This is one that I don't think I've mentioned on a video before, but it's really lovely. It actually stays on the card, so it's up to you to pick how far you do or don't want to cut it off. It's only £11, but it's quite an ornate design. One I do actually quite like and tend to use quite a bit personally. But I've just popped it at the top, added a couple of pearls to it just to give it a bit of decoration. Again, if time was on my side a little bit more, I would have liked to have added a bit of glitter to match in with the glitter that I've done on the decoupage sheet and on the flowers. The decoupage sheet is worth mentioning also. This is one of a series of bird decoupages we have in store. They're only 89p each. They're die cut, so they pop out perfectly, and obviously having step-by-step instructions for you to build it up. But I do love these little images. I think they're gorgeous. So that's the end of all of the fully made cards I've done. Another little idea I did have was to do corners around an aperture. I've shown you a full frame, but I wanted to show you as well that the corners work quite lovely with an oval, but I didn't get anywhere near a chance to continue with that one, but I did think it worth a mention to show you. Something else I wanted to show you is these. Now, I'm sure you all sit there and think, oh, he's had all day to practice with these and they're going to be really awkward to use, and I'm not going to be able to do this. Well, I wanted to show you these because these are my very first two I did. Literally fresh out the packet, these are the first two I played about and created. Obviously, they're not perfect. I've got a little bit of a stain here from some ink where I've dropped my stamp at one point. But it just shows you that from fresh out the packet, you will be able to do these. They're really not difficult. That little corner being cut off is going to keep you on track, and you're going to be able to create these with no effort at all. They're just going to fall together and look wonderful, I'm sure. So, okay, last samples I want to share with you. Again, time was an issue. I'm going to get bored of saying that. You're going to get bored of hearing it. But I ended up that I wanted to make cards for these too. I did get a bit carried away here. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to show you how you can use these with embossing powders. So if you're not into colouring, and I know the camera's going to struggle with these, if you're in the Lowestoft store all week, this will be about for you to have a little look at. It will then head to Yarmouth after the week is finished if you'd like to have a look at it there. But at the moment we do only have the one board, but it hopefully gives you an idea. Instead of colouring the items to begin with, I've just stacked them and embossed them with different colour powders. So for instance, if we look at this one, this is your delicate wreath. I've done red for the flowers, gold for the smaller flowers, and green embossing powder for the leaves. And I actually think it's quite Christmassy, which was sort of the aim, to be honest. Just to show you that you could use these stamps for more than one season, more than one idea. I always think if you can get a product and it's got more than one theme to it or more than one use, it helps pay for itself a little bit more because you're going to get more value for money out of it. The one below is the corner. This time I've gone for pink, green and red embossing powder. And then below that we've got the large wreath. Again, large wreath, by that I mean larger flowers. And we've gone back to the red, the gold and the green. Moving on, I wanted to show you how you could just go for a metallic colour scheme. And obviously this lends itself a little bit more to Art Deco styles by doing just the metallics. So this time I've got copper embossing powder, gold for the leaves and silver for the smaller flowers. Again, we're starting off with the delicate wreath. Then we're moving down to the corner with the same 3 colours. And then I think this is beautiful. I really love this. And I love the fact that the embossing powder gives you a bit of texture as well. So there is that, you want to sort of get it and rub it and it gives you that ability. It's got a purpose to it. With this one, again, same 3 colours down there too. Now next up, I didn't want to just keep embossing these and showing you different colour schemes without showing you, after you've done that, what you could do with them. So I've moved on to painting these. So this time I've reverted back to the same colours I was using earlier, which is the lilac posies, the cottage ivy and the teal zeal. And I've just painted these in again with some water. Again, we've got the same embossing powder colours, same as what I just showed you here, but just painted in. And again, we've got the corner with the same idea and the large wreath with the same idea too. Now, I would have loved to have done all of these in the border design as well, but I simply just didn't get around to that. But of course, you could do these same techniques using the borders. Moving on to our last one. This one, I've got a bit of a mix match going on, so we'll start at the bottom so I can tell you a little bit more. We've got a yellow embossing powder for the flowers. We've then got a pink embossing powder for the smaller flowers and green embossing powder for the leaves. Same again with the corner. And because I knew this was going to be a bit pale for you to see on screen possibly, I've painted in the top one here, going back to the delicate wreath. This time I've used my lilac posies again to go in with the pink embossing powder. I've stuck with my cottage ivy for the green leaves, but I've brought in cantaloupe for the yellow to go with the yellow embossing powder and just painted them in to give you a different idea. Of course, you could use any colour embossing powders. We do about 20 different shades. They're only $3.99 a jar. We also do a value range, which is only $2.99 a jar. So again, do have a look in store. All of the colours I've used on this project border are $3.99 colours. So if you do want any of the ones I've mentioned held, of course, we can have them held for you. The little memento pads I keep talking about, we stock these in store as well. These come in about, I think it's 30 colours now. So well worth a little look at with these. And they're so inexpensive that if you are doing a project like this and you don't want to buy the big clumpy ink pads for each of the colours and pay out for the big pads, they're perfect for using with these. And a great way to build up a little stash of colours. But of course you could use these with any inks. If you've got pigment inks, or even if you want to stamp with distress inks, you tend to get a bit of a different effect with these, but it can be done. It'll give you a different idea. Any inks are fine, any embossing powders are fine. It's really just a case of you playing about and seeing the colour schemes you like and what fits in with your style. Obviously today's cards I've tried to show you, as always, how these products can fit into whatever type of craft it is you like to do. If you're a painter, we have that. If you're into your parchment work, you could do that. If you're into your distress work, you've got that style. If you prefer your decoupage and layering, then of course they'll work beautifully with that as well. So it's just about showing you how these will really work, whatever paper crafting it is you do. Of course they're great for scrapbooking as well, especially the border one, that would make lovely page details. And then of course the wreaths and the corners come in quite nicely as well. So lastly, just before I let you go, I want to talk to you about the stamp press I was using. You see me use one like this. We have lots of these available, different sizes, different price points. We start off with our tiny little one. This one's only $4.99, and of course, as you can see, the stamps do fit on that as well. It's more for the corner one for this one, because that is a slightly smaller one. You can get the big ones on there as well, but it is a bit more fiddly, but brilliant for the corner one. That one's $4.99. We then do the large one. This is our large sort of DL one as such. This one's available for $7.99. And then we have our original. This is the one I use, that you see what I had earlier. Perfect size. This one is $8.99. Really good little stamp press. And then if you do use bigger stamps, or if you're thinking you'd like to, not so much with these stamps, but if you want to build up a scene and stamp it all in one go, then we have the really large ones. And these ones are $11.99. All of those are currently available in store. And as always, if you'd like one of them held for you, just let us know if you want the small, the original, the thin long one, or the extra large one, and we'll have them saved for you, along with anything else you wish for. Okay, so let's chat about your Sunday Showcase offer. And talk about prices, because I haven't yet told you how much these are, have I? Forgot about that bit. So, let's go back to the stamps in question. So we have our border stamps. These are $12.99 normally. We have our large wreath, again $12.99. We have our corner one, again $12.99. And we have our delicate wreath, again $12.99. I'm sure you're seeing a pattern by now. But as this is a Sunday Showcase offer, you can buy any of the designs that you wish to for $9.99 each, which obviously is a saving of £3 per design. But it doesn't end there. If, like me, and I always say this because I am a bit greedy, if you can't pick and you want all of them, which I can completely understand, you can buy all 4 stamps for $34.99, which of course is quite a huge little saving, because of that should cost you £51.96. So you're getting a proper little saving there. All of that for $34.99. Now don't go forgetting that each stamp set has in it 3 different stamps. So you're getting your 12 stamps for that money. And that's going to give you your 4 different designs. And from there, your options are just endless. The things you could create are going to be epic. Now, of course, if you do want all of the set, just post in the comments that you want all of them. That will be $34.99. If you want any of the individual designs, don't forget we have borders, large wreath, corner and small wreath. And they are $9.99 each. Now, this offer does, of course, end at 5 p.m. next Saturday, which will be the 25th of March 2017. So if you do want them, please don't miss out. As I said earlier on in the video, last week's showcase sold out by lunchtime Monday. We, of course, only have a limited stock of these. We're only a small little shop, so we don't have endless stocks of these items. So if you do want them, please don't miss out. Get them held as quickly as you can. You can, of course, hold them on our YouTube page or underneath the video itself. You can hold them on our Facebook page. And in the comments, I'll also put an email address. So if you're not a Facebook member or you're not a YouTube member, but you want to get these products, you can actually email us directly and we will have them held for you. This, as always, is done in a first come, first served basis. So please don't miss out. If you do want them, get in the comments. As always, the cards will be added to our Pinterest account, so if you do want to go on there and pin them, they'll be on there from Sunday afternoon. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you liked the product. Please let me know what you think of it in the comments. As always, we love to know what you're thinking about the products we bring you. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday when we have another new product to share with you. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.